First, let's build our head, and this is what we have before. We have our body here and our arm here, which is for upper arm, forearm, and our hand. And in order to make the uh, structure more clear, we have to arrange our canvas a little bit. So this would be our head, and this is our body. And we want to build our head in this area and build our foot, leg in this area. So it's almost like the same structure of human body. And let's start with our head. So to build our head, with first we need first we need to deconstruct it, and we got again we use list item to get what we need, and index input. What we need here is uh, we need to find the center of this box, and we need to move it uh, from here to here, which is like the length of your neck. And we will have a plan here, and we will build our uh, head. We will build our head here. Yeah, we will build our head here. So this is what we're gonna do. And let's first find our surface, hide it, and use the slider to choose the surface we need, which is again number 5, and find the center. Use area, and here we got the center. And now we need to move this center or this plane from this point here to about this distance, move it. So we can use is what we can use is plane offset here, and this point would be our plane location. Oh, sorry, the center, and the offset distance would be the length of our neck, which let's set 112. Give it a try. I think it's okay, the position, and we can build our head based on this plan, which will use cylinder. Right, the base would be this one, and we need 2 input. Let's try this value. I think it's a bit large and a little short. So this would be our head. Way to make things easier, I won't set this as more size input of our body, just some value that we can change if we want to change the size of our head. But head is actually not that important for our model here. And next we need a rotation to control the head uh, gesture. So we need rotation input and set it head rotation. Okay, and we need a rotate. Oh, rotate geometry angle input center would be the center of this plane, and the axis would actually be the well, let's hide it first. The axis would be the red axis, which is the x-axis of this plane. So deconstruct construct plane, and it gets its x-axis. Now let's have a look. Oh, sorry, rotation should always convert to radians. Now let's check it. The head is set. This is our head rotation. So let's check the value a little bit. Okay, so it can rotate to the back, and we want this to be our controller. That's that's how we build our head. It's very simple. And name it head. So next let's build our leg, and first we need some input of the thigh, and first input would be which is the and the input of thigh length. So these are our input here, and to build our thigh, uh, we first thing we need is we need to find the center of this rectangle, and we find the center, and we want our thigh to locate at like half of this distance, so it's about at this position, and the distance between these 2 points is a quarter of the hip breadth, which is this one, and we want the depth of our thigh, which is here. We want to set it like exactly the same as our body here, and at last we have the input of our length, which will define how long our thigh will be. So this is how we're gonna uh, build our thigh. So first we actually we need another input, that's rotation. Okay, so these are all the input, and first let's we need to find the center point. So we need this deconstruct rip and our body as input. Here's a little tip for you, that if you double click on the line, we can actually have a little tag here. We can name it like body. So when the line is too long and our region source is too far away, we can use this little tag as our uh, input here. So this is prep and of course list item to choose the surface we need, which is, let's hide it first so we can have a better vision of the chosen surface. I think it's okay, the number 4 surface, and we need to find the center with area. So center point. Now we have to move the center to around this position, and what we need is move. So set the center as input geometry, and what we need is to define the motion, which is distance and the direction. So the direction would be our x-axis, right? So like in this direction, and mm, the length would be quarter of the hip breadth I have told you before. So we need a division here to calculate the value, and set input integer number as 4, and the input of this would be our hip depth. Sorry, the hip breadth. Hip breadth is here. Set it as input value, and also we can add a little tag here that's hip breadth. And now we can see the point has already been moved here, and add when we change the input value, we can see the pointer is also moving, right? That's exactly what we want. And based on this point here, we can build a plan. This plan would be used to generate our rectangle. So let's have our rectangle and box rectangle and also the rectangle first. And the height would be our length input. So this battery will build our box for the side later. And then now we need to define the base of this rectangle. So what we need is the input of length. That would be our breadth, side breadth here. Use it as y, I think. Sorry. Yeah, the x, and our plan would be this one, and the y length on y-axis is the uh, it's is a chest dips, I think. Is this Yeah, is this value here? Chest dips as our input y. So now we have our uh, rectangle here, but it's located not at the center of this uh, point here. What we can do is we have created a cluster before. What this cluster do is it create a domain, so we can build our rectangle from the center point. Back to parent, and let's copy paste it, move it here, and the domain will be used for our breadth here and set the value to x-axis. So now you can see the rectangle is already moved to the center, and then let's set the y, also set the y input. So this is chest depth. Oh, sorry. Chest. And also use domain to create a center, create a domain. So now we can see the rectangle is moved to the center, and that's what we need here. We can use the breadth to change the value of our side, and of course the length. Now we have to fix the problem that the direction is wrong. What we can do is we can actually rotate the plane here, so a 180 degree. Let's use integer instead. Integer. Set the value to 180, and of course radians. So, and we need a rotation. Set this as input value, and our geometry would be the plane here, and the center would be the center we have before, and this is the center, and the axis would be the x-axis, right? So we need actually have an x here. Just set it as input and set the geometry input into our rectangle plane. So now the plane is rotated, and we have our side box. This is a basic box. Next, we need to rotate it. So we need another, let's see, rotation. And what we have to do, actually we have two rotation for our thigh. Sorry. And also we need two rotation here. So for the first rotation, we want to define the uh, rotation direction. For the box here, we actually we can use the z-axis as its rotation axis, so it can be just set at this default settings. But if you want no problem, you can actually use lines to construct a plane. But I think it's okay if just use the default setting. So let's check it with geometry with angle input, and the center would be the center we have here as center. So now let's check the rotation. It's right. It's exactly what we want. As we can see here, if we rotate our box here, the y-axis or the x-axis of the plane is also changed. So we need actually a new plane here. So we need to grep, deconstruct grep and item list. And input grep. I think we may need two lines to define the plane for our rotation. So I just copy a list item and set the input geometry here and use edges. also edges, and we're gonna use this line and this line to form the plane of our rotation. Let's hide them. And what we need here is this one and our plane here. Yeah, actually we don't need this plane, but the geometry here. So now let's construct a plane with origin of this point, and the x-axis would be the red. Yeah, this would be our x-axis, and this would be our y-axis. Now we have our plane. Let's have check look at it. Yeah, that's what we need. And for the rotation here, we also need center as the center, rotation center, and the input of angle. And of course, the axis would be the let's check it. The rotation we want would around the x-axis here, the red one. So deconstruct plane. Choose the x-axis, and now let's hide them all and only leave the geometry we need. So let's check it. Rotation and rotation. That's our side box. It's perfectly set, and we can also change the position and the size of it based on our body value, right? And the chest of depths. Yeah, that's our side. And in the next part, we will build our uh, leg